Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is called to order. Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for July 2022. Would you all please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson.
Here.
Mr. Wokening is currently absent. Mr. Kapora.
Present.
Mr. Bungie.
Here.
Mr. Kubido.
Here.
Mr. Austin.
Present.
Mr. Flottis.
Present.
Ms. Abernathy present.
Thank you. First item of business is will be the minutes from June 2022. Are there any corrections or additions?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Kapora, seconded by Mr. Jackson. Roll call.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Kapora.
Yes.
Mr. Bungie.
Yes.
Mr. Kubido.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. Old business, item number 1, Yoways Developmental Variance. Owner Chris and Julie Yoways, 11523 Belmont Place in Cedar Lake. Petitioner Vandera and Sons Construction, 8690 Jonathan Court, St. John, Indiana. The property being in the vicinity of 14117 Huseman Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct the proposed addition and proposed garage addition onto the existing house with a front yard setback of 16.5 feet, a rear yard setback of 5 feet, and a total garage size of 1,248.5 square feet. Mr. Austin?
It appears the legals are in order for the public hearing. Actually, I think this is continued from last month.
Okay.
So, but the public hearing may proceed.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have a petitioner present for this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Greg Bauer, 425 Joliet Street, Route 30, Suite 425, Dyer, Indiana. Thank you for your service to the town of Cedar Lake. I have the privilege here tonight to represent Chris and Julie Yoways, and also with us tonight is Glenn Vandera, who's going to be the contractor for this project that the Yoways are proposing. We first like to hand out some materials to explain why these variances from developmental standards are required. So if I could approach.
Please.
Mr. Chairman, Craig, these are new materials. These are not items or pieces of information we have already.
Some of them you may have. That's additional. Here.
Well, that's okay. It's a good town spot. Thank you.
I think there's money of them. Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe the town has already been given the first couple of pages of my client's petition that was filed to trigger this action. The third page represents a letter written by Glenn Vandera, which addresses the water drainage that will be caused by these additions to this lot. All water drainage will be handled appropriately, and actually, my client is going to improve the situation for the neighbors, both to the north and to the south. They're putting a swale on the south side. I think that's been discussed with the town representatives. That swale, as part of this, will carry the water on the south side of this house appropriately to the east side of the lot. And you'll see that later on. And on the north side, there's a French drain that already handles some runoff from the northern property, but will also handle the runoff from my client's house structure that currently exists there, and that will hopefully be added to. That letter addresses the concerns that you may have regarding the addition of the impervious surfaces on the lot. The next page is a survey if you're walking through this with me, prepared by Glenn Crack and Associates. And you'll see the red print on that. So on that sheet, on the, as I look at it, the westernmost cross-hatched in red building, that what is called proposed garage to be added on to the existing structure, that 5 feet to the north of the northwest corner of that is one of the variances sought. Because this lot is situated the way it is, we need a variance for that to complete the extension of the existing garage and add to that. So that's one of the variances. We're also seeking accessory structures in excess of the zoning ordinance to allow for typical use by a lake lot or recreational vehicles and for their vehicles that they utilize. That proposed garage will be utilized for that, to keep that out of the view from the public, and we think be a service to the neighborhood. And then, due to this unique configuration of Lot 1, 2, and 7 here, as you can see, the corner at Huseman Street and 141st Court, that I don't know if it's a correct description, but it kind of cuts into the property, and there's a 16.5-foot dimension there. That's another variance that we're seeking. Because of how the lots are configured and cuts in there instead of following the road, we need a variance from that. If it followed the road or it extended out without cutting into the property, we wouldn't need a variance for that. So those are the 3 variances. The size of the accessory structures, the 5 feet in the northwest corner for the proposed addition, and the 16.5 off that corner formed by Huseman Street and 141st Court. We believe the history of these lots around the lake have caused us to be here to ask for these developmental variances, because you can tell from how the lots are laid out. They're laid out as probably thought of as highest and best use a long time ago. As you can see from the changes to the lake front properties in Cedar Lake, at least the ones I've witnessed over the last 10 years, it's not conducive to what people are currently building. And you always want to build something that is in line with what current homeowners are building on the lake. And in so doing, they believe that they will actually increase the value of their neighbor's property. As I tell my clients who meet with me, you don't want to be the most expensive house on the street, because you raise everyone's value just a little bit and bring yours down a little bit. That's the standard in the industry. And what my clients propose to do on this lot is add a beautiful structure to it. My client will come up here in just a minute and explain the reasons why they need to do this for this. It's not just because they want something beautiful and nice for the neighborhood. It functionally will work for their family, because their mother will live with them too. Their mother owned all these lots for 10 years before my clients purchased them from their mother in October, and they currently reside in the existing structure here. So the next page is after that site plan. Shows an overhead shot of my client's property, and that reflects a long black roof. Hopefully you can make that one out. The lake is on the bottom of that page, and you can see the long black roof from that house. It's in the middle of the page on the bottom. The long black one is my client's existing structure. What they have removed at this time is a carport. The carport is that white roof that was in the middle toward the west end of the property. That has been removed at this time, is my understanding. So, and on the following pages, what we want to show the town of Cedar Lake, and specifically the members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, is what my client proposes to do with this house addition and remodel plans. The next page gives you a general outline of the buildings they want to put on. But then the next page after that gives you an idea of what it will look like. Those show you the front, side, and rear elevations. And what I always remark at on lake property is, you know, what people consider the front, rear, and side, because certainly on this property, it's a unique layout, because one, on the west side, it can be considered a side yard, and certainly with how it's laid out. And there could be multiple fronts and rears, as you could tell from the site plan. And the unique configuration of the lots have caused us to be here tonight, so that they can hopefully accomplish what they consider to be the home that they'd love to live in for a long time here in the town of Cedar Lake, of course on the lake. So those elevations give you an idea, and then also some of the renderings to give you a full idea of what this will look like, the improvements they intend to do. The next few pages are pictures of that, because this house plans were all modeled after this. And I can hand pictures out to the BZA that do a better job if you want to. If you go to renderings.
That's all.
What?
That's all.
Yeah, I was trying to give you better ones. If you need better ones, I have full-size ones here that you can take a look at. Okay.
Anything else? Dan?
So-
You have
Yeah.
one? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay, go ahead.
I thought the town would want to see once what the clients are intending to do. So, with the existing structures on the site, my client will take all the siding off and make it match that new building that you have a rendering of. So all of the buildings will be brought up to that standard, including the accessory buildings in the back, including the existing house that will be brought up to that standard. We thought that was important for the BZA members to know. So with that, we are seeking the three developmental standard variances, and according to section 19B7, we have to establish that they're not injurious to the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. And I think it's clear from the materials that's satisfied. The use and value of the adjacent property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. As you can see, I think we're going to improve the value, and the strict application of the ordinance, as you can see from the configuration of the lots, does really result in practical difficulties to my client. One of the principal things that we're doing by locating the structure right there is making sure it lines up with the adjacent structures with respect to the lake. They don't want to be in front of their neighbors to cut off their views of the lake, because they're all on the lake. So they're trying to match all of those elevations. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Julie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. My name is Julie Gilways. So I'm one of the petitioners, along with my husband, Chris Gilways. Just for the record, we're no longer at 11523 Belmont Place. We sold that home. We closed June 21st. So we've officially, as of June 12th, moved into the Houston Street residence. Our intention is to add a great room and a master bedroom suite to the existing structure. Have my mom move in with us. She's 75 years old. She's no longer able to live on her own. Right now she's staying with my brother until the remodel is complete. But I just wanted to really quickly touch on a few important things that have been important to us over the last 18 months, working with our architect and our builder, Glenn Vander A, who's also present. And one of those things, one of the most important things, was how this would affect our neighbors immediately to the north and south of us, the adjoining properties. So if you look at the Google Earth image, which I think is about 4 or 5 pages in, you would see this image. you can kind of see where our house is and how it lines up, the existing structure and how it lines up to the neighbors adjoining us, immediately to the north and to the south. And what we're trying to do is just get our existing structure to line up with theirs, to not impede their views of the lake. That's why we're asking for a setback. It turns out that the setback we're requesting is a front yard setback, even though actually technically we have another front yard and rear yard setback. So I'm not quite sure the legalities of that. Rebecca has tried to explain them to me. However, that's why we end up with 16.5 feet. That's not just pulled out of a hat. That was to keep our house lined up with the existing structure. And the drawings will also show that. And then you can see that, or as Greg mentioned, Mr. Bowers, our attorney, that we will go ahead and those accessory buildings, we're going to make sure that everything matches. What you can see, there'll be stone on the front of the house. Everything will kind of be like a brown-gray siding, and everything will match, including the accessory buildings, the existing building and the new addition. We've also asked Glenn Vander A to work with the town here, Mr. Kubiak, and I think the town engineer to work with any water issues, even the neighbors, just to make sure that we've alleviated any concerns for any issues that anybody may have with water. Okay, so if there's no questions, that was all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Noyes. Mr. Salatas, what do you have for us? I know there were some concerns with the engineer regarding this property. It's on the packet.
Yeah, it's just because it's generally stormwater and where they're sending it.
Okay, there was something mentioned about a sanitary right-of-way as well.
That was vacated.
Correct.
That was on the northwest corner of the property where the accessory buildings are. You'll see it's actually in their packet they handed out too, but it says it was vacated. I don't know when, but
Approximately 9 years ago.
Okay. All right. What's going to be just to be clear, you're proposing an addition onto the existing attached garage, correct?
Correct.
And then what is going to be your overall square foot of your living space on this home?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't calculate that. However, it would be about 4,000 square feet plus.
Just in living space?
Not including the basement, because we'll have a full basement on the new addition. So it's going to be over 4,000 square feet living space. I think it's like 4,500.
Single story?
Yes,
Single story?
yes. We're trying very hard to keep everything on one floor per month.
Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions for the petitioner? Moment?
No,
Okay.
not present time.
Well, you ran the meeting last month, Jeff, you had remonstrance you guys covered, that was in the packet? Or did you-
No, we didn't.
I don't
go
think
there.
we had
It says,
any
We got 4 letters to read.
Letters, okay. All right, I wasn't sure.
I
they were
think
ready
this
for
is the one that had a publishing advertisement problem, so that it was deemed that it was be better to re-advertise and postpone the meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ma'am, can you just have a seat for us, please? We're going to call on any remonstrance. Are there any remonstrators out here for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Come on up, let's go. One at a time. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Dan Pager, 14123 Houston. I live directly south to the Always.
Okay.
It's just something simple in regards to the downspouts on my house, which will be, right now, they discharge into that, will be discharging into the property. And I understand there's going to be a swale in there. Is that going to be acceptable for runoff for them? So 5 years from now, 3 years from now, we don't have to come back and,
Well,
I mean, it's the way it's been for years, so.
Chris could explain the engineering, I guess, maybe a little bit.
as long as the property owners maintain the swale, it should function as it does.
Well, I just want the okay that it's okay that it's running that way, and I don't have to divert it any other way possible, because it's relatively close to the fence line, the downspouts there.
I would hope that none of this, development would change the flow of water.
They would be responsible, the petitioner would be responsible for making sure that the water discharged off of their impervious surfaces stay within their property and are directed appropriately towards the lake.
Okay. Does that suffice for you, Mr.
If
Page?
it's, as long as it's workable for both sides,
Okay.
we're in agreement.
Okay.
All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for or against this variance? If so, please come on up.
Name and address?
Yes, sir.
My name is Ben Cipra. I'm at 14122 Soper Street. And, I mean, I'll be brief, like, I live in the neighborhood. I just kind of feel like we should all be on a level playing field in the neighborhood. There's people in that neighborhood that have asked for variances and been denied. 2 people wanted to build 1-story garages and were told they had to be 2 stories, doubling the cost of that construction. I talked to a neighbor who said he asked for a 30 square foot variance and was denied. So, you know, I just think if it takes a lot to get a variance approved, and we should err towards not approving them, because I know other people I talked to in the neighborhood haven't been able to have them approved. The other 2 things I would mention, or push back on just a little bit from their attorney here, is he kind of paints a picture of like a rosy 10-year relationship. I know that I've talked to Mr. Kubiak as well. I know that over the past 4 years there's been issues with unlicensed, unpermitted work, footings being torn out, decks, water being shut off. It's in the public records. That's where I got the information from the public records request. We've heard talk about the north and south of the property. You didn't hear about the west. That's me. I have a 75-foot lake view, and that's being reduced to about 13 feet. So I think that's why that was left out, and we just talked about the north and the south. As far as, you know, the attorney saying the property values were all going to benefit, I don't see how that could be a benefit to me. I'm thinking I'll be underwater on my mortgage since I purchased the house last year, and, you know, I feel like if you read my letter, there's maybe 6 to 7 other houses will be affected. So, you know, I just want to stick up for myself and say that there's definitely not all the houses in the neighborhood that are benefiting, and there's also not, you know, this great working relationship that's existed with the city. I don't really know Julie that well. I've talked to her a couple times. I wish she would have, you know, discussed this with me a little further about the 22-foot house getting almost a 66-foot addition on it, but I mean, we never had that conversation, so that's just, you know, why I'm here. So I hope, you know, I know you're worried about water runoff and that, you know, you don't really care about what happens to my view or whatever. That's not something you're looking at.
No, don't say that.
But you know, I just want to, you know, be heard as far as, you know, why the west property wasn't mentioned, which is me, and then, you know, also there's just some of the past stuff that had happened, which if you're not aware of, you know, I'm aware of it. But
Okay.
that's all I have to say. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time. Anyone else here? Ma'am, please step on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry, you're going to hear from both of us.
Oh,
I'm
it's okay.
Alex Cipra. I'm at the same address, 14122 Soper Street. I have just a few very brief things. One is, in addition to what Ben had said about, you know, it's really wonderful about the consideration for the north and south properties. We are not the only west property, and in fact, all of the other west properties will lose their entire lake view, which will impact negatively their property values. The other one thing I wanted to ask is, this is a question I'm not sure about. It looks like behind the proposed garage and where there is a current shed, that is in an alleyway that was, correct me if I'm wrong here, originally put in for fire trucks because we have no hydrants.
It appears it's vacated, right?
It's vacated.
Right, so can you explain to me how this works now? Like, if there's a fire and we have no hydrants, how are they getting the water from the lake if now there is a giant house blocking everything?
They would generally not pull from the lake. They have pumper trucks where they would, or tanker trucks where they would tank water in.
Okay, that's great. So that gets rid of the main safety thing. I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm very frustrated because I've had a couple of conversations with Julie, and I thought we had a fairly amicable relationship, and this is just like a punch in the face. That it's your land, you can do whatever you want with it, but if you're requesting all these variances and you haven't even given any consideration to anyone except your two immediate neighbors, or to even say like, hey, you know that addition we said we're gonna build is gonna block your whole view, and the $5,000 you just put into the front of your house to build porches to look at the view, sorry about that. It's just frustrating. It's not the type of neighborhood that I thought I was buying into, and it's not the type of relationship that I thought a small town would have. And I'm very, very upset by a few of the things that have happened here. And I know that the view is not one of the variances. I realize that. But I want you to understand the impact it's going to have on those of us who lose it financially. You know, I've got small kids. I plan to be here for a very long time. It's frustrating.
I understand. Thank you for coming in. Is there anyone else here for or against this variance? Anyone else? Ms. Abernathy, do we have anyone online?
No, sir.
Okay. And then we want to put into the record the letters that were sent by the Cipra family. Make sure that those are on record. I think that's, okay. All right. With that being said, the public portion is now closed. Can the petitioner please step back up? All right.
Did you want to use, okay.
Well, you can both, Mike. So the problem I have with this situation is you kind of blew me away when you said you're requesting you want to build a 4,000, basically have a 4,000 square foot home. And Mr. Bauer had mentioned that this would satisfy the findings of fact, but I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the minimum square footage for a ranch is 1,500 square feet in our new zoning ordinance?
That's the minimum they have to build without requiring a variance to go smaller.
Correct. Okay. So it can be debated whether the zoning ordinance is actually imposing a hardship on you satisfying the minimums of our zoning ordinance. You're asking for something over twice the size of what our minimum is. Maybe 2.5 times the size. That's the problem I have. Second, the remonstrators are completely correct. Losing a lake view, especially because of a variance, or mainly because of a variance, I don't think is right, because when somebody buys a property in this town, they have the expectation that the zoning ordinances will be followed. And in this case, you're asking for them not to be followed. And in turn, it may impact the value of the neighbor's property. And I have a problem with that. And I've had discussions, this isn't on the Hanover side, but I've had discussions with the Center Township assessor about this and how lake views and lakefront properties are assessed. And there's a real difference in value between different types of properties when it relates to the lake. So that's my opinion on this matter.
Can I address that comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, actually, Ms. Cipra actually stated this. The variance has nothing to do with the lake view. We can build the structure according to the ordinance. We just would have to move it more towards the lake and harm the other neighbors that are on the lake. So we can build this. We would just have to move it towards the lake. And you can ask, and so that would just hurt our neighbors on either side, you know, because one sticks out, and then so we can still build the structure, and all permitted to your zoning ordinance. It fully complies with that. All we're adding is to, what was this, a 1920 structure. They're adding about a 25 by 25 structure to it to allow the living with the mother. So this has nothing, I just want to reiterate, the variances have nothing to do with the lake view. We can, these people can build the structure, and it will still impact the lake view. They're just going to have to move it towards the lake. And that's consistent with your zoning ordinance.
And the garage as well? You can get that in compliance?
Well, that is the additional square feet that we want, but no one's complaining about the garage. It's on a vacated alleyway next to a pump house back in that area that's on an adjacent lot for that whole subdivision. That's like a community lot that's for the pump house for everyone, so,
Well, that's on lot 8.
Correct.
yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, the proximity's there, but no, I don't see how that relates to your argument against that point. But you are increasing the hardship on the north side if you carry out the building line for the garage. So either the garage would have to be kicked in to stay with I would think, would have to stay with the existing 6.7-foot side yard, I guess, correct?
That would still be a variance, yeah.
But it would still be a variance, so. So I don't buy that that's your only, that's your only variance request that would affect the other folks.
I don't think the neighbor to that side of us had any opposition.
Okay.
He's here.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking to see what I have to do to try to meld all this together into a comprehensive plan that I'm happy with.
Sure.
And, you are increasing your level of, you're decreasing your level of separation from the building line to your property line by carrying out that angle away in the way that's proposed here for the new garage.
I understand. We're trying to keep everything in line. We also have the burden of, if you look at how the property narrows by the garage, that's a, 30, if it's a front yard, it's a 30-foot setback. If it's not a front yard anymore, then it's, right now the town is calling that a front yard and a backyard on either side of the garage. But if it's not a front yard or a backyard, because we're proposing the new addition to the house as a front yard. So if that's not the front yard, then we don't need a 16.5-foot setback. And if the garage is not the backyard, then we only need the 10-foot away from the property line, or it's not even 10 foot, it's 7 foot, right? So we have to decide what is the front yard and what is the backyard to clarify for us, so that we understand what we're actually asking for. You see, the town is proposing we have 2 front yards and 2 backyards, and that is not appropriate, probably.
So the front yard is, per our new zoning ordinance, is on whatever street the house is addressed on. So their front yard would be off of Huseman Street.
Okay. So we actually don't need then a variance for the 16.5-foot setback of the new addition. Correct? 'Cause
No, you would.
But that's not a front yard.
Yes, it is front yard.
But the way that the right-of-way comes into your property at an angle off of both Huseman Street and 141st Court, then that's the reason for the 16.5-foot, I'm guessing.
Correct,
Sure.
which is an old lot layout, and the roads have been laid.
Okay.
And that's our burden, is that we're looking at a 35-foot setback on a narrow lot there, or a 30-foot setback on a narrow lot, whichever way you're facing, whichever way you're looking. So we're trying to position a garage right in line with the other garage to avoid, interfering with anybody else's or obstructing any other neighbor's view. That's why we're trying to keep everything in line. We certainly could do some unique, interesting architectural stuff, but we're just trying to keep everything lined up.
Thank, Mr. Salatas, do you have anything else in the building department? Any other comments?
No.
No? Okay.
What's the coverage of this lot of additions?
I think with the outline, I don't see how they can have any problem. Sam, do you know what that number would be? He's working on it over there.
I know they're under,
They're under?
yeah,
With the additions?
for lot coverage with the addition.
And the existing detached garage will be turned into living space?
21.6%.
No, it'll stay garage. I tried to indicate with the lake houses, they want to store all their equipment in there to keep it out of the view and try and keep a nice tidy lot, so that's the reasons why they'd like to add on to the garage.
What's the current square foot of that garage as it stands now?
It's about 24 by 23 feet, which, you know,
705.7 is what it shows on here.
Okay.
Oh, one page for some reason.
The
Go ahead.
existing is 590.5 square feet. The proposed would be 658, which is 1,248.5 square feet, which is 148.5 square feet over your 1,100 square feet. That was the finished floor. So that's from 148.5.
Oh, yes, sir. Can you please state your name and
Oh, I'm
address?
sorry,
for the
Ben
record?
Vanderay and Sons Construction,
Address?
9690 Johnson Court, St. John, Indiana.
All right, thank you, sir.
And just, Jeff, for your, this 5 foot that you're referring to here, it's kind of like behind the neighbor's garage here, the driveway comes in here, pretty well out of sight, and I don't think anybody really is going to know whether we make it 6.7 or 5 foot. It's a moot point. I don't know if you could tackle one at a time, and if that's okay or not, if the garage size is okay or not.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm just, you know, referring to in, with your attorney saying that really this is the only, the 16.5 foot is the most critical part of the variance request, but, you know, you are asking for a, you know, well, whether it be listed as a rear yard setback or a side yard setback, you're still not within the ordinance.
Yeah, I think the referral was answering somewhat the negative comments about putting the addition up and blocking the view. The garage has not much to do with that size or addition, mainly the house, and there's really no place to put the addition to the house that isn't going to block it.
All right, thank you, sir. Do you have anything else? Any questions or comments? John?
No, yeah.
could I possibly leave you with one comment?
Absolutely.
Okay, if you look at this site plan that we've all been talking about all night, I just want the BZA members, this addition, okay, so we've talked about one view from to the west that's not on the lake, that might be impacted. Now, they've acknowledged,
By the way, not one,
Oh,
seven.
ma'am. Go on.
we have the Google map there, and you can look at that. We're trying to be transparent with you so you can see exactly. So the side view, so that's not a variance, so we can build there. So the only thing, what happens is if the BZA does not want to grant this, is the house will just move closer to the lake. It'll move 13.5 feet closer to the lake. So then, the side yard will still stay the same. You get that? I just want to make sure you.
I understand.
So,
Here's what ultimately we go by, is the finding of fact.
yeah,
Regardless of what the outcome's gonna be with your alternate plans, we have to determine whether the finding of fact, whether your plan goes in line with our finding of fact, whether the variance request. In my opinion, it doesn't. In my opinion, you just told me yourself that you guys could put the house closer to the lake, and you wouldn't need that setback variance. So how can you tell me that findings of fact strict application of the zoning ordinance is creating a hardship for you?
Well, because we're trying to be, the only way we move it closer to lake is the other people on the north and south side then get impacted.
I
If we
understand.
keep it there, otherwise the north and south people will be significantly impacted by that. So I just
I
wanted
understand. I'm following our findings of fact here.
It's more than 13 feet because the lot narrows as you go forward. So if we're asking for the setback, if we don't receive the setback, it would be, the further forward we move, the more forward, it's almost exponential. So we would, to accommodate the narrowing of the lot, we would have to move even further forward just to accommodate the land and square footage.
Okay.
And it is appropriate to the neighbor's home. They're even closer to the lot if you look down the street.
The neighbor is 6'5" from his property line adjoining us, and there are 4 other houses.
All down the whole street, they're close to the road.
The neighbors that are here that have no problem with this plan, they're not gonna have any problem with that house being shifted towards the lake either?
Oh, yeah, the one neighbor here.
Yeah, they're here to let you know they have a real problem with it.
But your one neighbor was up here and said he did not have a problem. It's right next door.
for drainage.
For drainage.
Well, does he have a problem with the house being?
We don't want the house to shut.
I just have a problem with this passing the muster on the findings of fact. That's the problem I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir?
the law allows you to impose reasonable conditions, so let's start there. If you think there are other ways to look at this, that reasonable conditions being imposed would be suitable, you may consider those under the law. Practical difficulties item is really clear here. The burden is on these folks to show those 3 items, including that there will be practical difficulties in the use of the parcel if the variance is not granted. So that burden is theirs, and you're kind of articulating that. Last item, you only have 4 tonight. You may want to advise folks about that.
Okay.
And what the lack of a member tonight means in terms of the vote. There's 3 for everything. You got to have 3. I know council knows it, but
I've considered that, and if you'd consider deferring that, we'd request a deferral.
Okay.
With 5 members there.
Did you have anything else to add?
no, that was it. I just
Okay.
wanted to go over
All right.
the lawyer stuff.
So you're requesting a deferral until next month?
Yeah,
Okay.
is that all right? Sorry, I should have asked you first.
Okay. Want a motion on it?
Take a motion.
I'll make a motion to defer this petitioner's request until the August meeting.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion by Mr. Corr, seconded by Mr. Bungie to defer until the August 2022 meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
before you take the vote, will you consider leaving open the public hearing? There were folks here tonight. We don't often get that.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll leave the public hearing open.
I want to make sure it's on the record, so
Okay.
it's understood.
All right, thank you. All right, roll,
Jeff concur?
I do.
all right, roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Lundy.
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you for your time
No,
tonight.
thank you. Item number 2 of old business is Wahlberg, 7309 to 7319 Lakeshore Drive, variance of use. Owner, SNN LLC, 739 South Arbogast Street, Griffith, Indiana. Petitioner, Fred Wahlberg, 739 South Arbogast Street, Griffith, Indiana. Property being in the vicinity of 7309 to 7319 Lakeshore Drive. This petitioner is requesting an extension to the previously granted variance of use approved December 9th, 2021. Mr. Austin?
For your record, I was aware that this was going to be an old business item. It was on my recommendation if that occurred. There was a request by the property owner petitioner for an extension, and that would require, under the law, the conduct of a new public hearing and advertising. They're looking for an extension on already approved variance of use activity.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Fred Wahlberg,
I live at 739 South, or no, at 5706 West 133rd Avenue in Crown Point.
Okay. Jeff Wahlberg, I live at the property 7315 Lake Shore Drive in Cedar Lake.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
We ran into a lot of difficulty with the bank when it came to trying to get a residential mortgage on a commercially zoned property. We finally got through most of that, and then the bank asked us to come up with a insurance quote. And then that created a whole new hassle of finding insurance companies that would issue an insurance quote on a commercially zoned property for a residential purpose. And we finally found one for that, and then the banker turned his information over to his appraiser, and the appraiser red flagged it and said, you know, the commercially zoned property, you're looking for a home mortgage, and the banker said, well, they have a variance, and the appraiser wanted to see that variance. So we contacted the town. The town said, uh-oh, your 6-month clause, which was for coming in to explain what changes we were going to do to the property once the purchase was complete. You know, and I guess it was a few days expired from that 6-month time because we weren't able to buy the property.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Salatas, do you have anything to add? Anything since this was granted? Anything changed?
No.
No?
Seems ministerial at this point.
Okay, all right. Gentlemen?
I was not at this particular meeting 6 months ago, I mean, so I think this was this continued once? Was this on the November?
Yes.
For some reason, and then it got continued? Okay. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem, but I mean, if nothing's changed, and I don't think if,
They were granted R2 zoning on a B1, special use R2 zoning on a B1 zone property, to remain a single-family residence with the contingency that plans are to be submitted within 6 months of the approval and to be complete with the remodeling within 36 months with all the findings of fact. So that's what they would like an extension of. And just like that, you guys just want an extension of what I just stated?
Yes.
Okay.
Extension of 36 months too, or just of the 6-month clause?
Well, they're requesting the extension of the previously granted variance of use, so I took it as the motion that was made.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir?
May I suggest, offer the suggestion at least, that in the event you would consider favorably the request to extend the time 6 months, give them time to work out their financing and banks and whatever, that you add a restriction that this variance of use is for these folks and these folks only, so that we don't get a surprise or a sale transfer or we get a casino come up on the Wahlberg property.
I promise you this is going to happen.
Okay.
Hyperbole, of course, but, so, you know, we're dealing with Wahlbergs.
We're just trying to find out how long we got to extend for.
Yeah, and that's whatever they ask for.
That's all I want to know.
Now, we do have some ideas of the things we wanted to change in the building.
How long do you want to extend this for?
Right.
Yeah, this is drug on and on with the bank. I don't know, would another 6 months be asking too much? I think we could get all squared away within that. He would become the owner then, and then he could move ahead with remodeling and upgrading.
That time period takes you into the middle of winter, if we're looking at it from hot July. So a little shorter time or a little longer time might make sense.
Well, I would suggest give them an extension for a year and go forward with that. I don't have any problems with the extension either. I'm just trying to figure out.
All right.
Yeah.
And
Good job.
as Mr. Austin stated, and I want to let you gentlemen know and everybody else that's here to request the variance, we're one member short, so if you think it would be of any benefit to you to defer an item until next month, when we hopefully have 5 members, that's completely acceptable.
Yeah, we're kind of at a point now where the banker's pressuring us to see that variance, the appraiser's like waiting for that, so we can't really move forward until we can get that for the appraiser.
All right, so we extended for a year, does that push the 36 months out a year or two?
It'll go as far as you specify. That, what they've asked for isn't necessarily what you can decide. If you pick 6 months, say, January 2023, public meeting, be here and explain what you're doing. If you haven't finished it, you can do that, or you could say a year, extend for a year, as you suggested just now, John. It's all up to you.
Well, I don't see them coming back every 6 months, and,
Hopefully they won't, because it'll
Yeah, I
work
know.
out and be done.
So if you were just, hypothetically, if you were given 1 month, or 1 year to have your plan submitted, and then an additional 2 years to complete remodeling, is that sufficient? That's the 36 months that you originally requested?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You okay with that?
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Great.
Okay. And then the variance view stays with Walter.
Yeah. So, Mr. Austin, there's no, we don't have to open up the public
No,
portion because
unless
it's...
unless you want to.
No.
It's not a public hearing.
Okay, all right. So, this will be a recommendation to the town council. I believe the stuff that was stated by Mr. Oshman should be added to this motion as well. Variance of use, staying with this petitioner only.
Just for approval to the town council?
It's a recommendation to the council. Variance of use.
I'll make a favorable recommendation to the town council to extend this request for 1 year, and then additional 24 months to complete the renovations. And variances stay with this petitioner or owner is not transferable for finding the facts.
All right, thank you, John. Do we have a second?
You'll second it?
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Porter, seconded by Mr. Jackson, to send a favorable recommendation to the town council allowing the extension of this variance of use, the contingency that there's 1 year, they have 1 year to submit their plans, an additional 24 months to complete the renovation, and that this variance stays with this petitioner only, and also to include the findings of fact. Any questions on the motion?
When you said this petitioner, my father's actually the petitioner, I'll be the one purchasing the property. So I'll be the one that would have the variance, not my father.
No, it isn't. It's Mr. Wahlberg.
And
So we're both,
Yeah, we're both
that's my
Walters.
father.
I understand your father owns the property, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're selling it to me.
Mr. Wahlberg Senior.
So that's who this variance of use will stay with.
But I understand.
Now, what happens when you buy
Who's
this?
Fred? Tell me, sir, is that you?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
Fred.
That's who made this application. That's
So when the property transfers to me though, then does the variance no longer exist? Because that's one concern of the bank. They said they won't accept the home loan.
So make it for any Wahlberg who has an interest in this property. The reason for restricting it would be so we don't have a Martian walk through the door and tell us they're doing their thing now.
Yeah,
On
totally
your property.
understand.
We don't, this is
This,
for that reason only.
Or what's your first name?
Jeff?
Jeff?
Yes.
Or
Could be Fred or Jeff.
yes,
Sure.
Jeff Wahlberg. The variance will stay with the petitioner, present petitioner, and/or Jeff Wahlberg.
That works.
that would work.
You amending your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah?
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
You're your second, that's your member.
Your second, Matthew.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I second it.
Ray, you're good.
I'll go with that.
All right,
Thanks, Bill.
okay. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to new business. Item number 1, NYBY Development Corp., 9710 West 133rd Avenue, developmental variance. Owner petitioner NYBY Development Corporation, 1370 Dune Meadows Drive, Porter, Indiana, 46304. The property in question being 9710 West 133rd Avenue. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have a lot size of 23,800 square feet. Mr. Austin?
Legals are in order for the public hearing to be conducted.
All right, thank you. Do we have a petitioner here for this item? Did you do this up, what?
Yeah, this is us, then.
Marino.
You're up.
No, you,
Yeah, your number
I think the agenda items have been jostled around.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking under what I got offline, thinking, we're not building a 2,000 square foot building. Good evening, my name is Doug Holmeyer with McMahon, the engineer and surveyor for this project. I have David's brother, he is out of town, and Marty.
No, that is.
And when we started this project, the size of the lot fit the zoning of the property, and as we have gone through the process of getting our variances and getting site plan development, which I'm working with Don, the ordinance changed and so did the square footage for the lot requirement. It got increased to 40,000 square feet, and we have 23,000 plus square feet. So we're here tonight asking for this variance of use to have a decreased lot size for the B3 zoning for our project.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Salado?
Yeah, they've been before the Plan Commission and BZA now here quite a bit, and Doug's seems to be a regular here. This is the last one. This will make the project buildable.
Okay, what was the minimum square footage for a B3 lot before the ordinance change?
Previously, 20,000, so half the size of what it currently is. So they would have, when they started, previous to me joining the town, they would have been in compliance, but given that the zoning ordinance had changed effective March 4th, they're no longer in compliance.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just as a point of reference, was there any particular, thread of logic as far as why the permitted square footage of a lot changed so dramatically?
I was not part of the update to the zoning ordinance that it was being approved as I was just coming on board in Cedar Lake, so I would not have reference to any discussion that took place.
Probably a town council.
Actually, the Plan Commission, the Plan Commissioners worked through that zoning ordinance text replacement, and it was the subject of a lot of dialogue in work sessions. That's what ended up in the ordinance.
I think we were trying to give property owners or businesses enough property to put a building on and parking and what have you, and 20,000 square foot was kind of small.
Okay.
So that's why we went, and we were thinking more along the lines of not the existing property like this in reference to if they move to like an industrial drive or someplace where they're purchasing a piece of property over there.
Certainly within your B3 zoning, which this is, it allows for more intense commercial uses, which, as John alluded to, could be necessary for larger lots.
Well, the precursor to that was the Ultima property on Route 41 that became the commercial industrial project that has just been finished. And those folks brought in a 28-acre project on 18 acres. they were setting the bar, or 18 on 28 acres, I'm sorry, I had it reversed. And they were kind of setting the bar because we had both at BZA and Plan Commission levels, careful review of what those boundaries and uses meant. So there's a lot of vetting in the laboratory also by way of that petition. And we got that property zoned and platted and land use approved exactly like that went down.
Where is this at? When you say, Chris, that this is really the last step, so this is past everything that the Plan Commission had seen? And
All of their Plan Commission approvals have been contingent on BZA approvals as well. They've received approval through the Plan Commission, so this is, and they've received 3 previous, I believe, developmental variances as well. So this would be the very last variances they would seek before they can proceed.
Proceed with the one-lot subdivision.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we went through all the parking, the screening, the easements, building size, and we went through all that, and it's down to, like Chris said, contingent upon what this board does tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you, Don. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for the petitioner right now?
What was the business again? Was it a mechanic shop or body shop? What was it?
Yeah, it's an auto repair shop.
Auto repair, okay. That's what I thought I remembered. Okay.
They had a rendering of a real nice building, too.
Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say. I thought I remembered all this. And the traffic flow is gonna be pretty stagnant, I take it, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last meeting there was a question about tow trucks. We'd make, average of other 5 locations, we get 1 to 2 tows a week. So there wouldn't be issues in traffic with tow trucks coming in.
Okay. Gentlemen, just have a quick seat for me, please.
Okay.
Call on remonstrance. Are there any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Ms. Abernathy, anything online?
No, sir.
Okay, and there was nothing in the packet. So with that, the public portion is now closed. The petitioners can come back up, please. So was this, just to get some history on this property, was this property zoned B3 for many years?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the site of the old veterinary clinic, correct?
That's what Bob just mentioned, actually a minute ago.
I'm just having a hard time, I'm dealing with the here and now. I understand the past, there was a 20,000 square foot minimum. I'm having a problem with the here and now, and that's what we're dealing with tonight, is that the request is for a 40% reduction in the size of the lot. And I appreciate all the work that the planning commissioners have done and the town council has done to adopt this new zoning ordinance. They've vetted this a lot more than I have. And I just think that this is, it's just too big of a reduction in the size. The planning commission must have thought enough of this to expand the size.
Well, it's not like we're landlocked. It's not like we're gonna build a 10-lot subdivision, we want all these reductions. This is just one lot of property that was purchased that fit the B3 zoning when my client purchased it. So now we're kind of stuck when they changed the ordinance midway through the project, that when he came to him and said, yeah, this looks great.
I understand.
Based on what the ordinance is right now, you couldn't put any business in it, because the lot's too small.
Well, you could put a B2 or a B1. They're 10,000 square foot minimum, aren't they?
That would require the property to be rezoned to that zoning classification.
But that's within the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, within the zoning ordinance, B1 and B2 require 20,000 square foot.
And this property has to be, or this business has to be B3.
Correct. The specific business use that they're requesting is only allowed within B3 outright. Otherwise, they would require a variance of use for a B1 or B2 zone property, so they would still be forced to come to the BZA.
Well, my feelings are that they started this prior to the ordinance change. And it would have been allowable before the ordinance change. We took quite a few years to get this ordinance worked out, so I'm happy with the results of it. But in the same respect, I feel that this business that they want to put in there is, they have several of them, or at least one other one in Winfield, I think. They have a nice building, the rendering they showed us, they agreed to all of our screening, to our parking. Like you said, he's only going to have maybe 1 or 2 cars towed a week in there. Mr. Foreman was concerned about flatbed truck showing up and parking in the street and rolling off cars and what have you, which they assure us that won't happen. And I can't see it either, because they're going to be doing brake jobs, mufflers, tune-ups, that sort of thing. They're not going to be working with wrecked cars. That's correct. So my feelings are that Plan Commission weighed everything heavily on this, and had a lot of discussion on it, and I feel that this variance should be granted for this business.
So, Chris, just to clarify, this use is not, is only limited to B3?
Correct.
Okay.
And Maggie's is about the same size as this business?
Without going and measuring the lots, yeah, they appear to be equal size. I know another BZA member had also asked me to look into if they could acquire a parcel next to them, and the parcel that is next to them would not bring them up to the required square footage as well, without then going and purchasing even an additional property.
Okay. I'm having a hard time digesting this. How the Plan Commission on one hand says, well, you need to have a 40,000 square foot lot for B3, and the other hand saying this is okay. I'm just having a hard time swallowing that pill.
Well, the Plan Commission didn't say it's okay. They said they will approve it contingent upon the BZA saying it's okay. And I'm saying a few months ago it was okay, and it's not, because of the ordinance change.
Yeah, when the project was presented to the town originally by my client, this was okay. So with the change in the ordinance, that created the need for the variance. Everything would have been fine.
I understand.
If we were standing up here last year at this very same time, we wouldn't need to be here.
At some point, the Plan Commission thought there was a problem with the size of the lots in B3 to go through the process of changing the minimum size, I would say.
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The property was already B3. When the ordinance kicked in, it created the nonconformance. That property cannot meet the B3 ordinance. So with the approval of that new ordinance, that created the nonconformance of this property.
I understand all that. I'm just dealing with here now. I've been on this board for 5.5 years, and you guys have seen properties in this town that either weren't planned at all or there was poor planning, and we deal with them all the time with problems with parking, ingress, egress, all these issues. We've got some properties that are still vacant because they can't find a proper fit for them because they weren't planned properly. My opinion, this is poor planning. When we're requiring a 40,000 square foot minimum and we're cutting that by 40% to allow this now.
For planning on whose part?
I don't know whose part it was. The fast planning? Are you asking, John?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm talking about some of these parcels in town that we've seen come across this board, and we look at them and go, how are we going to make this work, you know? And I don't see a need in creating that kind of hardship for the future now by allowing a property that's 40% or 60% the size of what our ordinance allows. We've had problems with parking with some of them, and
like I stated earlier, we went over all the parking. In fact, they're going to have more parking spots than is required for that size building. We went over all the screening.
Right.
And they agreed to put necessary screening. There is vegetation on one side that is going to suffice for screening. They have easement in back, which they are not going to touch. It's going to stay a grassy area, correct?
Yes.
You know, and so it's right there. I mean, ingress and egress is right there. It's not a problem because you got businesses all up and down that street and the school. You know, with the egress and ingress there. So I really don't see any problem with it. Yes, the plan commission changed it. We changed the ordinances, but it wasn't changed to hinder businesses coming into town and using existing buildings or property. Parcels, from being, you know, the parcels from being used because they're too small. I see no reason why we should not.
If I may
Otherwise,
add,
you're not gonna get a building built there, unless you change the zoning and put a dentist in there, I don't know.
I'd like to add that, although Mr. Oliphant isn't there, I've worked with him, it's all engineered. Everything works, the drainage meets the ordinance, the parking exceeds the ordinance.
For your use, not for all uses in B3, correct?
For the building size.
For the building size,
And that particular use?
It's
Which requires-
calculated by building size, the amount of employees they're going to have, and the amount of customers expected. There's a calculation within the zoning ordinance that's used, and John is right, they've exceeded for what they proposed to build.
Okay, and I totally understand and I agree with it 100%. But I look at down the road when this business is no longer there, somebody else goes to come in and want to do something there. Are we creating an issue where we're going to have a vacant property down the road on our main thoroughfare, a vacant building, because it wasn't vetted with, and our ordinance wasn't held to the standard that we should be holding it to? You know, I think we need to look beyond today in this business.
But we have a business that fits. It's already zoned B3. Now, the point of clarification is, at least that I'm understanding from your argument, is why should we not then enforce the size constraints now? But like Doug said, if before this ordinance took place, which this project was already in the works, they would not be here if that change had not been made, you said, March 1st? Is that correct?
Yes.
So, I think it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, I'm just dealing with what we're dealing with today.
Well, I get it.
Yeah, well, and like I said, the Plan Commission went through the work to determine that B3 should have a 40,000 square foot minimum lot, and I can't be going against them, but that's just my opinion only. So it's up to the rest of you guys to decide whether this is a good fit, good planning.
Nick, you want to remind petitioners about 4 members?
Oh, yeah.
And so they
Yeah.
can make it call
Yeah.
here.
All right, thank you, Dave. Yeah, so we have 4 members here, normally have 5. You guys think it would behoove you to defer until next month when we hopefully have 5 members? You've got the right to do that.
Nick, while they're doing that, I'm sitting here thinking about the dialogue you're having, the debate you're having. It's good debate, by the way. That's exactly what you should be doing. We have examples of really poor planning in B3 and B2 zoning in this town. On the highway, for example, on 41 north of 129, you have where Aurelio's and those workout, a number of buildings and businesses back there. That was a squeeze it in, maneuver it around, find a way to fit it, and there's a lot of issue with the way the end result allows businesses there to operate efficiently and profitably. So, the comments made about, why we did this, why the 40,000 feet, why the change of the ordinance, why the upgrade was because we hadn't changed anything here in 40 years. It was time to modernize, and that's what happened on the zoning ordinance. And we know, staff here knew about that, probably should have counseled these folks a little differently. And I acknowledge that, we should have. Because when they were coming in here and talking about this, we were on the cusp of adopting that ordinance.
And, my client, when he came in to talk with the town back in last September, it was like, oh yeah, this fits, it'll work, we'll be under the old ordinance, proceed with your project.
Well,
And then-
staff members don't have the authority to do that, so,
Sure, I understand that, Dave.
I
But
understand that's what the debate is about here, and dialogue back and forth, that's all.
So you gentlemen made your decision on what you'd like to do here. Would you like to proceed tonight or defer?
Yes, the decision was made to proceed tonight.
Okay. All right.
Take 3 votes for any action.
Okay. Chris, you had nothing else for us? All set? Okay. So this is a developmental variance, which means this is a board decision.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we grant the developmental request to allow the petitioner to have a lot size of 23,800 square feet, a reduction from our B3 General Business Zoning District ordinance, including the findings of fact.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bungie, seconded by Mr. Kapora to grant this developmental variance, allowing the petitioner to have a lot size of 23,800 square feet. Through the findings, right? Correct. Okay. Any questions on the motion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
No. So,
No action. Will need to be an agenda item next month.
okay. Sounds good. You guys understand?
We'll be
Be
back
there next month. Okay.
When is that meeting?
Second Thursday of September.
Or August.
Or August.
August 11th.
August 11th.
That was a golf outing, I forgot that.
Does this item get an action like a deferment?
It does by inaction, and it'll dump over this next agenda. Next meeting.
Next item of new business is Zambo, 7310 West 134th Place, developmental variance. Owner Dan Zambo, 1008 Royal Dublin Lane, Dyer, Indiana, 46311. Petitioner Harry Coaster, 3622 41st Lane, Highland, Indiana, 46322. The property being in the vicinity of 7310 West 134th Place. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to have a setback of 15 feet from 134th Place and 20 feet from Fulton Street. Mr. Austin?
Legal's in order.
Thank
Public
you.
hearing may be conducted.
Petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm Harry Kester. I live at 3622 41st Lane in Highland, Indiana. I'm representing Mr. Zambo, and I'm a real estate broker with listing leaders in Highland, Indiana.
All right, and the reason for your petition?
We are proposing construction of a home. I think there should be copies of the plans in there. There was an existing home on the property previously, which was torn down, and the lot was cleared. and we're looking to build about a 3,100 square foot home on that property. On the three-car garage, I think you have a copy of the plat as well. The setback that we're looking for in the front coincides with all the properties to the south. The properties around the lake. This property is not on the lake, but that would, give us an average sized backyard and coincide with the front of the other buildings.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Salatas?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Board discussion?
So you say this is this will be a new home?
Yes. Five bedroom, 3.5 baths. Very nice property.
This property you said had a single-family residence on it
Yes,
previously, right?
I think it was probably built in 1956, and it was a little bi-level all the way in the back of the yard, and of course back then it fit. Of course today, building a new construction, we wanted to have the lot line coincide with properties in the area.
Okay.
Current ordinance states that backyard size is 25% of the depth of the property, is that correct?
No, it's a set amount now.
30 feet, right?
It's 30 feet, isn't it?
I think we changed that.
No less than 30.
Is there a problem with moving the building back to have a backyard of 30 feet and minimize the encroachment on 134th Place?
Well, if you drive down that road and you see the other properties directly to the north of this property, we also own those 3 lots there. There are no other houses that are set back. So the reason we want to do the 15 feet is because if you go down south, you can see that it coincides with all the other properties that are existing there. So I think people today would like a decent sized backyard. It's a pretty good sized lot, 95 by 95, 95 by 100.
What are the plans with the other lots there that were part of this homestead before?
Yeah, at some point in time, we may ask to build another home on that property.
So
That would be 100 by 150.
So the property is there to build a single house and meet the zoning ordinance, the property that this owner owns?
It wouldn't. It's a corner lot, so even if they moved 7 feet back, they would still need a variance for the front yard.
Is Fulton Street operational and
Yeah.
Yes.
So the corner lot, 2 front yards.
I'll just tell you, as a town council member, I've received many complaints about that corner lot, and the residents complained to me highly about the grass not being cut and the deterioration of that building, so I'm just letting you know some of the complaints.
Yeah, we spent about $5,000 just tearing down trees, and we keep it pretty pristine as far as grass.
So Bob, you'd be happy to see a home like this and a corner
yes.
lot maintained? Okay.
And I think the
We'd
residents,
be happy too.
residents will too,
Yes.
and I won't have them on my back anymore.
And what's the size of the home then, the square footage?
It's
ground level?
about 3,100 square feet.
Okay, and what's the ground level of living space?
Pardon me?
Ground level of living space?
About 1,050.
150, okay. Thank you.
Did you say, is lot 3 and 4 part of that lot 6 parcel, or that's separate?
That's separate. It's actually 2, 3, and 4.
2, 3, and 4?
Yes.
And that's owned by the same person?
Yes, that's correct.
So, size of the home too?
No. No, they're good on lots, lot size, lot coverage, minimum square footage for a two-story house. They really do just need the, because of the two front yards on a corner lot, the setbacks.
What was our minimum square, we had an issue with the wording of the ordinance, but.
Yeah, it's currently being interpreted until we can correct the Scrivener's error. They need to have a minimum square footage of 2,200 square feet for a two-story house,
Okay. Thank you.
which they're exceeding.
Okay.
And is it the front yard where the house is addressed?
Correct.
So he's addressed on Fulton Street, right?
No.
134th.
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 He would still have given our corner lot restrictions, he would still need to meet a 30-foot, he would have to meet 30-foot setbacks on both the front on 134th, the side of Fulton Street would also have to be 30, and then the rear yard would also have to be 30.
So shifting this home to lot 3 and 4?
And if you went down that road, it coincided with all the.
No,
other
I've been down, I know the subdivision
okay.
I know it very well.
Yeah.
But I'm just asking, that shifting this home onto lot 3 and 4 and getting that extra 50 feet behind it isn't gonna help you with your setbacks? I mean, you could push the house back and not have the front yard being 15 feet, you've got another 50 feet to work with, and the side yard too, or the other front yard.
Well, the other idea was to develop the other potential property at some point in time, build another, this is a pretty good sized house. Over $500,000 will be the asking price, so.
I understand. I'm saying that the property is there, that this property owner owns in order to accomplish this without a variance. That's what I see.
There was a single home on this property, and now there's gonna be a really nice single-family home on this property again.
Well, our idea is to have two real nice single-family homes on the property. The other property would be 95 by 150.
Gentlemen, have any other questions for the petitioner at the moment?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, sir, can you please have a quick seat for us? Sir? Oh, can you have a quick seat for us, please?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any remonstrators here for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Ms. Abernathy?
Nobody online for it.
Okay, and there was nothing in the packet?
No, here, not for this property.
Okay, with that, the public portion is now closed. Sir, please step back up. The way I see it is there was a single-family home on this homestead, and a single-family home can be put on this homestead again without the need for a variance. So I don't see a need for the variance, other than the fact they want to put two homes on this property now. So I don't see a hardship here, personally.
Is this being built for resale?
Pardon me?
Is this being built for
Yes.
resale?
Yes.
So what can the owner do to bring it within ordinance?
As far as the
That's the
setback?
question.
Yes. Would another 5 feet setback from 134th resolve the issue?
You need 15 feet, I believe.
Yeah, and he's 30 feet off 134th and 30 feet off of Fulton Street.
Right. My problem is exactly what you noted. Somebody's coming in here to build a house to sell, and now we're being asked to break the rules so they can build two houses on a property that previously had one. When this is totally doable on that property. Right. It just shifts over to the east.
I don't see a hardship.
And for those of you that know, I just got through a campaign for town council, and
most people were complaining about density, and this is just a knucklehead move if we decide to do something like this. This is not what we need to be doing, is cramming more houses in where there used to be less.
So, again, two, I'm sorry, you have only have four.
Yeah. Sir, you heard me a couple times about the fact we only have 4 board members.
Yes.
So, do you want to proceed with this still?
Yeah, we'll go on the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're requesting it
Yes.
until August?
Yes.
Okay.
We may make some changes.
Okay, yeah,
According to
your
your
concern.
information.
Okay. All right, sir.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Deferral has been requested by the petitioner. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bungie, seconded by Mr. Jackson to defer until the August 2022 meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Pecora?
Yes.
Mr. Bundy?
Yes.
Mr. Cupido?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Item number 3, Pinecrest Arena, 14415 Lowerman Street. Ashley, you had some information?
Yes, the property owner and petitioner reached out. They are requesting a deferral to the August meeting. There were some issues with the time with their publication.
Okay. Mr. Austin, we need to have a motion for this item?
No.
No?
You just need to note that your record should reflect what Ms. Abernathy indicated. It'll be an agenda item with public hearing next month.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, items deferred. I think we had the same thing as
Similar
before.
to Terry, number 4, yes, sir.
Okay, number 4, Terry, developmental variance 6712 West 145th Avenue. Is that ever happened?
Similar, they had issues with the times, with the holiday, and they requested a deferral to the August meeting.
Okay. Items deferred.
August was there be haunted.
Yeah.
Might want to start at 5.
You're gonna wake me up from my nap.
Item number 5, Guka 7406 West 128th Court, developmental variance. Owner petitioner Lucas Guka, 14424 Moore Street, apartment O, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Property being in the vicinity of 7406 West 128th Court. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct a new home with a rear yard setback of 27.6 feet and a side yard setback on a corner lot to 19 feet on Ninth Street. Mr. Austin?
Is this a deferral item? Back in my head, I thought this might be.
I don't think that.
No. Legals are in order.
Okay. All right, thank you. And petitioner, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lucas Guta. I live 14424 Moore Street, apartment O, Cedar Lake.
Okay, and the reason for your request?
I want to build a house on the middle of my lot because my engineering guy says it's better for me this right there on the middle because I don't have because we'll be a little bit higher like street and I don't gonna have problems with the water. And anyway, my land is corner lot, but there is no street there, you know. I'm last one on the block and I don't think anybody do the street there.
And there's not currently a home on this property?
No.
Okay. Mr. Salatas, do you have anything from the building department?
No.
No.
As he mentioned, it's a corner lot, but the one road is not constructed.
Okay. Board?
What is that lot size, 98.18 by 75? Is that your lot?
Correct.
So the corner lot setback is on a street that's not even improved.
Correct.
Dedicated but unapproved. Any plans to improve that road?
Do you have a big check for $1 million?
No, I know.
I mean, but there's, sewer doesn't run
Yeah.
through there, no utilities run through there or anything like that as far as?
Not to my knowledge.
When you mentioned developer, Mr. Austin, you alluding to the fact that maybe this would be primed for improvement to service other lots?
Potentially, it benefited the developer for this road to be improved.
Okay.
They can sell lots and build houses or whatever when they do it. Just never know.
Correct.
I mean, we've got some of those around town.
We have a number of those around town.
Yeah, you do.
Just bear with us, at least bear with me because I'm looking at your plans here, so.
My apologies, I thought when I pulled them over to the iPad, they were all facing the correct.
I'm gonna need a neck brace.
Just turn the iPad.
Yeah, I could do that too. What's the square footage of your home, sir?
2,600. It's two-story with basement.
Okay. All right, do we have any other questions for the petitioner at the moment? Can you please have a seat, sir? Do we have any remonstrators out there for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? Ms. Abernathy? Anyone online?
No, sir.
Okay, and nothing in our packet as well, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, with that, the public portion is now closed. You can come back up, sir.
Let's see, this is up off of, Hilltop?
Yeah.
Kind of-ish, in a roundabout way.
I've got the GIS up on the smart board.
The dark blue is the property here is Hilltop. So it's kind of in the Meadows to Highwood area.
It's not one of those really deep undulating lots, is it, with the tremendous, fall off either from front to back or left to right? So the high spot is 722 feet. And to the west side of the property, whoops. Drops off to roughly 706, 15 feet, 75 feet.
Well, the back setback is only 2.6 feet short of being legal, or meeting the ordinance of 30 feet. And the side yard along Ninth Street, which is, Ninth Street is the unimproved street, dedicated but unimproved, is 11 feet short. And if he were to move the house, I don't see a dimension on, that side lot. Could the house be moved?
Yes, but if I move it, then my engineering guy, he have to do the retaining wall on the left side.
So you can get it in compliance with our zoning ordinance if he does that?
I don't really understand because my English is not.
Okay, so if you move the home
Mm-hmm.
and he puts up the retaining wall,
Mm-hmm.
it will fit our rules?
Yes.
Except for the backyard, which is 2.6 feet.
Yeah, then I have to do smaller house, 2 feet smaller. Because backyard right now is 27.
Well, what we're looking for is to get as close to the ordinances, if not meeting the ordinance. So if you want to take another look at it with your engineer, maybe you have to downsize the size of the house to fit on this property. I'm okay with 2.5 feet short in the back. But, you know, if they ever put Ninth Street through in the future, then you might have a problem, or there would be a problem with the setback from Ninth Street to your house.
Yeah, but anyway, there is no space for the normal street, just maybe one-way street, the right side. I'm not talking on the front street, but the right street is small.
Yeah, but even if it's one way, you still have to have the distance.
Yeah, because my engineering guy, he said it's no any rules, I have to keep 30 feet.
Because there's a chance down the road that road could be paved and used. And right now, it's not being used in the fashion of a road, but it could be used at some point that way if it were to be improved. So,
Would there be a chance of that road being vacated?
Could be on a petition by somebody. And please remember that if there is a vacation, the law is that it goes half to the owner on each side.
On each side.
Right. So you wouldn't get it all.
yeah.
But he'd get half the width of the right of way.
You would.
Or you could buy the other half from the other guy.
I've never seen that, but it could happen.
Yeah.
And that's all supposing that a vacation was granted.
Yeah, and that would be legislative action on the town council. An ordinance.
Okay. Now, sir, you understand, we have 4 members here now. Normally, we have 5. So if you think it could maybe help your cause to wait until next month, when we have a 5th member, you've got the privilege of being able to do that.
Or maybe you want to talk to your engineer, see if he can do something to bring it into compliance. Are you building a house? You're going to build it yourself?
Yes. Then I don't have choice, I have to move the house and do smaller because I don't want to wait another month because I don't want to waste the time. Then I gonna do one left side 8 feet and right side 30 feet, front 30 and backyard 30 feet and that's it.
Right, and then you don't, if you're in ordinance, you don't have to come
And
back.
I have to do the retaining wall in the left side.
Okay, so you can make it work?
Yes, but it's problem for me because it's more cost because I have to do retaining wall and
Well, with that, the cost of it is not something that we considered, unfortunately. It's not part of the consideration. Unfortunate for you, but.
okay, then I have to change the blueprint and I gonna,
So you're gonna make it work then?
yeah.
So are you withdrawing your?
John, did you?
No.
Oh,
May I suggest the matter be deferred, if it's an option, he could come back here
okay.
if he doesn't work it out with the engineer or.
You might wanna keep your spot on the.
Stay on the agenda.
Stay on the agenda.
Okay, so you would like a deferral until next month, and then you've got 30 days to figure this out, and if you can make it work without needing our approval, then you just contact the building department and tell them to withdraw your petition. If you still have a problem making it work, then we'll see you next month. Is that what you want to do?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. Mr. Austin, is that good?
That's good.
Okay, that's good. All right. Do we have-
I'll make a motion, we defer this till August meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Capora, seconded by Mr. Jackson. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Well, maybe we'll see you on August 11th. Thank you. Item number 6 of new business is Philwoods, 13053 Dewey Street, developmental variance. Owner petitioner Susan Philwoods, 13500 Dewey Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. The property being in the vicinity of 13503 Dewey Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to run electric to a garage on a lot without a residential structure. Mr. Oster?
Legal zone order.
Okay, and we have a petitioner. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Susan Philwoods. I live at 13500 Dewey Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
And the reason for your request?
I want electricity put on my lot across the street, 13503. I'm building a garage there, and I can't lift the garage door.
Okay. Is there a reason why this was not taken care of when she came in for original variance?
I don't believe that's part of the original variance.
It wasn't, I just was unsure why this wouldn't have been taken care of all at the same
This
time.
is not the first occasion I've seen of the accessory structure without a primary structure and someone potentially requesting an electric to said accessory structure. The other situation that I've encountered here just has not made itself to the BZA yet because the petitioner is not ready.
Okay.
This should have been a staff level gatekeeping because of the propriety and nature of it. So that's an internal item that we should deal with.
Yeah.
To help, our citizens.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Building department, anything on this otherwise?
Nothing additional.
Nothing? Okay. Well, you already got your approval for your garage, or your previous owner did, correct?
Yes, I do.
And she's all good to go with that? Okay.
Yeah, it's variance for electric.
or supplement to the previous.
Yeah.
Keep together.
Well, mine is pretty straightforward. I expected when we gave her the variance that she'd have when he got the variance, Mr. Lordo, that he would have electricity, but. We'll, have you have a quick seat, please. We'll call on any remonstrators here for or against this variance. Anyone here for or against? Ms. Abernathy?
No one online, sir.
No? Okay. Public portion is closed. Ms. Bilowitz, you can come back up. I don't see any problems with this. Like I said, I thought this was kind of taken care of before. I would hope it would have been, but here we are, and she needs electric, so I don't see there being any problem with allowing her to have electric on that property. It's something that NIPSCO requires approval from us. Is that what it is? Okay.
And in that stretch of Dewey Street there, I know there's a lot of accessory structures away from the primary residence.
It's right across the street from where I live.
Right, but I mean, this is not an isolated case of this particular
Oh, I know.
occurrence happening there, correct?
I'm not aware, I just moved in.
No, well, I'll speak for you. We've got our place a couple doors down, but the neighbor right next to her has the same exact arrangement, right next door, house with garage across the street, 2 different addresses, 2 services, 2 tax bills. That's something I think this board granted many years ago, to allow him to have that
We've
garage
done
there.
that many times throughout the course of time, they've been around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see a problem if this board determined that it was okay to have a garage there. I don't see why the board would be, have any opposition to having electric to that garage. Unless you guys have any other opinion on it.
No, not here.
No? Yeah. Okay, this is a board decision. I have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we grant the petitioner's request to have electricity in her garage across the street from her house for finding of facts.
Second.
Second that one?
Motion by Mr. Capora, seconded by Mr. Jackson to approve this developmental variance as requested and to also include the findings of fact. Any questions on the motion?
No, sir.
Do you have any questions, Ms. Philwitz?
No.
No? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes.
Mr. Bungie?
Yes.
Mr. Yehuda?
Yes, motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Item number 7, Zanussi, 13010 Deodar Street, developmental variance. Owner petitioner, Waclaw Zanussi, 668 Quinary Bridge Lane, apartment 202, Glenview, Illinois, 60025. The property being in the vicinity of 13010 Deodar Street. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct a new home on a lot of 8,464 square feet, to have a rear yard setback of 25 feet and a lot coverage of 27%. Mr. Austin, are the legals in order?
1 second, please.
Sure. We're running ahead of schedule here with all these deferrals, so take your time. Next month, not.
Read it shortly.
The legals are in order.
All right, thank you, sir.
And there is a letter in this file for the remonstrator portion.
Okay. Is that in our packet too?
Yes, it's the second last.
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, please state your name and address. for the
My name is
record.
Marcin Zaniewski, the owner of the property, my dad over there.
Okay, you're the owner?
No,
Oh,
it's
your
my
father?
That's my
Okay.
father, yeah.
Okay. And the reason for your request?
The 25 feet setback, I didn't know about it. So, I would try to, go with all the guidelines, but, I'm trying to go through it because, the 48 feet length of the house is divided between 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, so it's really kind of small. And, I would like to keep it as it is. If it's a big problem, the good news is I can push the house to the front 2 more feet, so it's gonna be only 3 feet more than the actual setback.
And you would still comply with the front yard setback?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would like to keep it as it is, but just to make it life easier for you guys, it's possible to push it back to the front 2 more feet, and we're only gonna be 3 feet more in the back.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any building department questions or concerns? No? Okay. Was there a home on this property recently?
There was a 900 square feet home, it's demolished already.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions for him?
He said he'd bring it into compliance?
He could bring it 2 feet closer to compliance in the rear yard, by shifting the home forward.
Yes, because
Yeah.
I'm 2 feet more than the actual guidelines, so.
He's asking for 25-foot setback in the rear yard?
That's, so make it 27.
Yeah. And what's the square footage of your home, sir?
Including the garage, I think it's 20 to 50.
A ranch?
Yeah.
Okay.
House itself is like 1650.
And the width of your lot is 75 feet?
Mm,
And you've got the little bump out in the back?
yeah, it's kind of different in every direction, but the north is like, I think it's I think it's 110. This is real easy. The south side is partial 80 and then I think 25.
Is 2% coverage over?
Correct. That's part of the request.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, have any other questions for him at the moment? We can move on to remonstrance.
I don't, President, no, we can do that. Okay, have a seat, sir. And I'm not being sarcastic about that. Are there any remonstrators here for or against this variance? Anyone here for or against the variance? There's something we didn't, okay. Come on up, sir, and state your name and address for the record.
Way up here.
Way up there, Joe.
Joel Boda, 13019 Dodge Street. So my fence in my yard is on the north side of that property. And that property was just a shack. So it's a small lot, and anything that's put on there is gonna look better than what's on there now, so.
Okay.
Basically, I'm for it.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Sure.
Any other remonstrators for or against this variance here? Anyone chiming in online, Ms. Everdeen?
No, sir.
Okay. I wanted to put into the record, there's a letter that was sent to us dated July 13, from a Keith Schillo, Cedar Lake resident. The letter states, I am writing in response to a notice of public hearing regarding a variance for the property at 13010 Deodar Street, Cedar Lake. I am opposing the variance. The existing town ordinance should be upheld, the variance not given at this property. So with that, public portion is now closed. Sir, you can come back up, please. Well, is there any way you're making this work without a variance? I know you just talked about shifting it towards the street closer in order to give us a little bit more room in the backyard.
You know, every foot of the count, or every foot of the length counts.
And once again, I'll tell you too, 4 members here is what we have present. We normally have 5. Next month, hopefully, we'll have 5. And got the ability to request a deferral if you think that you need more time, and/or benefit you to have 5 members here rather than 4.
So you guys cannot make a decision?
We can make a decision. We will make a decision unless you tell us you want to defer until next
No,
month.
I mean, I would rather, just.
Okay. Proceed tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you make your house a little smaller?
I mean, my plan is to make it more narrow, but on the, to gain, because side setbacks are 8 feet. So when it comes to percentage, I think I will be right on the point, because now I'm 8 feet on each side, but my engineer told me with a little few inches extra on each side, just to make sure, you're not gonna go wrong on that. So I was thinking doing 8.5 on each side. So when it comes to percentage, I will be perfect.
For the coverage?
Yeah.
This is a legacy lot? kind of?
It would meet within our zoning code ordinance what is being referred to internally as a vacant improved lot. So it's sort of like the legacy lots, but it does not fall under the same criteria as the legacy lots. Only the lot size taken into account for those lots. Legacy lots are for existing home structures.
But there was an existing home here,
It
correct?
would fall into legacy lot.
Yeah, and that would decrease setbacks and things of that nature, but this is vacant unimproved, which requires him to follow all the R2 standards except for lot size.
So if you shrunk this, or I'll ask Chris this, if you shrunk this house down to our minimum required, which is 1,500 square foot for a ranch, would he be able to, first off, meet our lot coverage requirement? He's 2% off right now. I think it's an 8,600 square foot lot.
Well, he said that if he went 8.5 side yards, that by reducing or increasing the side yards to 8.5 on both sides, he would come into compliance with the coverage of 25%.
Absolutely, because now I'm 26.4.
You're right.
Yeah.
Correct. You're about 2% over, so doing that would reduce it, so that we lose that variance for coverage. The other thing is, he said he'd move it towards the street 2 feet.
So I have only an extra 3 feet over.
So he would only be 3 feet short on the back, so that would, to me, would be an easy variance. And so if he agrees, we make it in the motion that he reduces the house to meet the coverage of 25% and move it forward 2 feet and give him a variance for 3 foot or 27 foot backyard.
But we would still need a variance for
Your rear yard.
Yeah, 27 feet.
27 feet. Yeah. That's what I said, too. Did I say
well,
that?
and then the reduction in lot size.
Well, he'll be okay on lot coverage at that point.
I'm not talking lot coverage, I'm talking about lot size.
He's fine on lot
There's a body up here that a lot of not less than 10,000 square feet can be built on.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that's in there.
Is that the way I'm?
That, for a normal, in a normal setting, that would be correct. Currently, with the properties such as this that are already platted, he would fall under recorded vacant lots less than minimum area, which allow him to only have to have 5,000 square feet lot size. So he's exceeding that.
I don't know why, go ahead, Ms. Abernathy, I know you've been wanting to.
So with the area, that portion was discovered after he turned in his variance application. So when I created this one, that was discovered after and after he'd already received his publication for publication. That's where that portion was. If I did my math correctly, if the house is 2,116 square feet, that would be the 25% lot coverage.
Okay.
And that's what it is now?
No.
He would have to reduce it to
You
what?
would have to reduce it to 2,116 square feet.
That's with garage, right?
That's total square footage.
And that'll get him to the 25% threshold square.
If I did my math correctly, yes, sir.
How good were you in math in school?
I got the pre-calc.
Okay, pretty good, we'll trust it.
So the only variance at that point then we would need would be the rear yard.
Yes.
Down to allowing, what, 27?
Yeah, he said to move it 2 feet towards the front, so that gives him 27 feet setback, so he needs a 3 foot variance. As I see it.
What size will your garage be?
24 and a half by 26 and a quarter.
that's where you're thinking now?
Yeah, it's something, I'm fine with,
Okay.
you know, the neighbor's fine with it, I'm fine with it. Well, one neighbor's fine with it.
So basically, if you're gonna put a clean motion together, just basically give them the variance for the rear yard.
Well, I want to stay in there, but my motion would be,
So your motion is?
my motion is to grant petitioner's request, with, but he must comply with, lot coverage of 25%, which means his house could be no bigger than 2,116 square feet. And the backyard setback would be 27 feet, as opposed to 30. So my motion is as such per finding of facts. If that's understandable.
I understand it.
Believe it or not, I understand it too, and I'll second that motion.
It's amazing.
All right, a motion made by Mr. Kapora, seconded by Mr. Bundy to approve this developmental variance, allowing the petitioner to construct a new home with a 27-foot rear yard setback and to comply with the 25% lot coverage, allowing a home and garage with a total square foot of 2,116 square foot, and to include the findings of fact.
Correct.
All right, any questions on the motion? Sir, you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Kapora?
Yes.
Mr. Bundy?
Yes.
Mr. Gupta?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you're happy, Papa, all right?
All right, public comment, any public comment out there? Ashley, do you have anything, public comment?
Nothing that was provided to me, sir, nothing on mine.
Okay. Gentlemen, don't have anything else to talk about? Ladies, nothing to talk about?
I got nothing to talk about, but
Saying to say, do you have anything that we've been hanging over our heads for several months that we've been discussing? I don't believe so.
Rules and regs, we discussing anything about those or anything in the works?
Yeah, we're internally, we're looking at the zoning ordinance and cleanups and all of that. We're a little busy, we got about 30 million bucks worth of stuff going on. So, you know, you know where our priorities have been.
Yeah, I got you.
You know, I don't want to mislead you.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
still have it, it's still
a work in progress.
Like, I think you asked me to schedule something in August or something, anyway.
Okay, all right, thanks for the update.
And we're happy to give it to you every month. We'll get it done.
Okay, sounds good. Well, with that being said, this meeting is adjourned at 8:08.